In 37 AD, at just 24 years old, Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, known to history by his childhood nickname Caligula, became emperor of Rome, inheriting control over the most powerful empire in the known world. His early reign was met with genuine public celebration, following the deeply unpopular final years of his predecessor Tiberius, and for several months, Roman citizens and senators alike believed they had gained a young, generous, and promising new ruler. What followed instead, according to nearly every surviving ancient historical account, became one of the strangest, most disturbing reigns in Roman history. A 4-year period so filled with bizarre behavior that historians nearly 2,000 years later still debate exactly how much was genuine madness, exaggerated propaganda, or some combination of both. Roughly 7 months into his reign, Caligula fell severely ill, and ancient sources are unanimous in describing a dramatic shift in his personality and behavior following his recovery. Whether caused by an actual physical or neurological illness, as some modern historians and physicians examining the ancient accounts have speculated, or by the psychological pressure of absolute unchecked power at a young age, the emperor who emerged from that illness behaved in ways his own contemporaries struggled to explain or justify. Among the most infamous stories recorded by ancient Roman historians involves Caligula's alleged military campaign against the sea itself. According to accounts written decades after his death, Caligula marched a substantial portion of the Roman army to the shores of the English Channel, ostensibly preparing for an invasion of Britain. When the actual invasion failed to materialize, Caligula instead ordered his soldiers to line up along the beach and attack the incoming waves with their swords and spears, declaring that he had achieved a decisive military victory over the god Neptune himself. He then reportedly ordered his men to gather seashells scattered along the shore, presenting them back in Rome to the Senate as legitimate spoils of war, equivalent to treasure captured from a defeated enemy. Modern historians remain divided on how literally to interpret this account, since some scholars argue the story may have been a misunderstood or deliberately distorted description of legitimate military exercises, or possibly Caligula mocking his own soldiers, who had reportedly grown mutinous and refused to board ships for the actual British invasion, turning their refusal into a symbolic, humiliating theatrical display, rather than a literal declaration of war against the ocean. Equally famous is the story of Incitatus, Caligula's prized horse, which ancient historians describe as having been elevated to a level of luxury and status far beyond that of most Roman citizens. According to surviving accounts, the horse was housed in a marble stable, fed oats mixed with flakes of gold, and provided a jeweled collar and a household staff of servants dedicated entirely to its care. Some ancient sources go further, claiming Caligula seriously intended to appoint Incitatus to the position of Roman consul, one of the 2 highest elected offices in the empire, though historians continue to debate whether this represented a literal, genuine political intention or a deliberate, calculated insult aimed at the Roman Senate, whose authority and dignity Caligula reportedly held in open contempt throughout his reign, using the absurdity of elevating an animal above them as a pointed political statement about how little he respected their institutional power. Beyond these more famous stories, ancient sources describe Caligula engaging in behavior that, if accurately recorded, reflected a ruler increasingly detached from any meaningful restraint. He reportedly forced senators and prominent citizens to run alongside his chariot for miles as a form of humiliation, held elaborate, extravagant banquets funded through increasingly aggressive taxation and confiscation of wealthy citizens' property, and, according to multiple ancient historians, began openly presenting himself as a living god, commissioning statues of himself replacing the heads of traditional Roman deities and reportedly appearing in public dressed as various gods, including Jupiter, Mercury, and Venus, blurring the line between Roman political authority and outright religious worship in a way that deeply unsettled the traditionally more restrained Roman aristocracy. Caligula's increasingly erratic and cruel behavior combined with his open contempt for the Senate and the traditional Roman political structure, eventually led to his assassination in 41 AD, just 4 years into his reign, killed by a group of conspirators that included members of his own Praetorian Guard, the elite soldiers specifically tasked with protecting the emperor's life. His death marked one of the earliest and most direct examples in Roman history of the empire's own security apparatus turning against the very ruler they were sworn to protect, a pattern that would repeat itself numerous times throughout the centuries of Roman imperial rule that followed. Modern historians examining Caligula's reign face a persistent challenge, since nearly all surviving accounts of his behavior were written by historians working decades after his death, often under the patronage of later emperors who had strong political motivations to portray Caligula's reign as an extreme example of tyranny, reinforcing the legitimacy of the more stable rule that followed him. This has led some contemporary historians to argue that, while Caligula was almost certainly a genuinely unstable and often cruel ruler, certain specific stories, including the full literal details of the war against the sea and the horse's political appointment, may have been exaggerated, distorted, or symbolically reinterpreted over time into more dramatic versions than what actually occurred. What remains undisputed, even accounting for potential historical exaggeration, is that Caligula's 4-year reign produced behavior so extreme and so consistently documented across multiple independent ancient sources that it permanently cemented his reputation as one of history's most infamous examples of what happens when absolute power is placed in the hands of someone either genuinely unstable, deeply traumatized, or simply never meaningfully restrained by the institutions meant to check that power. If stories like this, uncovering the strangest, most extreme moments from history's most powerful figures, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because Rome alone holds far more stories like this than most people ever learn.